This new open-world Star Wars game sounds amazing, and that is by Force Gaming. Let's watch.
As you may or may not know, the past 10 years of Star Wars games have been under the reins of EA. They signed a decade-long deal with Disney back in 2013, and since then have made a handful of titles with varying degrees of success.
Very varying degrees of success. Let's just be clear. These games could be a lot better. Let me turn on. See if that helps. Yeah, I was a little darkened there. Little face darkness going on. This should be a little better.
Obviously, I really enjoyed the first Battlefront, and Jedi Fallen Order was frankly pretty amazing. Although, let us not
I got to agree, Jedi Fallen Order was an awesome game. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely should.
forget the debacle that was the launch of Battlefront 2, specifically the massive amounts of pushback they got, well deserved, due to the game's loot boxes and monetizations.
I don't think anybody is ever going to love loot boxes. It's just such a... I mean, it's straight up gambling, right? Just put that money into it to try and find those skins, to try and find those emotes, those decals, those whatever. Ugh. Loot boxes, man.
So much so that they were getting threats from various governmental agencies across the world. Basically what kicked off the...
That's pretty bad. That's honestly pretty bad. You got the emails flowing in. Oh, who's hitting us up? What's going on? Some more business deals? This is great. Oh, the government of the United States. The government of I don't know, some European country hitting us up. Hey, what is this predatory loot boxes and monetization? It's not good.
The trend back away from loot boxes in a majority of AAA games. But hey, whatever your thoughts on EA's output of Star Wars titles over these past 10 years, their exclusivity comes to an end in 2023. And with this...
Have I mentioned how much I love Star Wars? I'm not sure that I have. It's worth mentioning. I absolutely love Star Wars. And the idea of a new Star Wars game, I mean, I'd get the butterflies in the stomach. Just a little flit of excitement. And yeah, I want to know what it is. I want to know how it looks, how it feels, how, you know, what the hype level is for it. It's there's nothing like a new Star Wars game on the horizon to get me going.
We've got a slew of new developers taking a crack at the franchise. EA is still in the mix with a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order called Jedi Survivor, and they have
yeah, that's actually pretty exciting because, like I said, Jedi Fallen Order was really good, and so a sequel to that should be really good, hopefully.
Respawn working on both a Star Wars first-person shooter and a Star Wars strategy game. But then we've also got Quantic Dreams making Eclipse, a story-driven action-adventure game. Then there is a Knights of the Old Republic remake coming from Saber Interactive, and a narrative-driven adventure from Skydance. And
Knights of the Old Republic remake? What? That could be really good. That's exciting.
last but not least, there's an open world Star Wars game from Ubisoft Massive. Now, Massive is a branch of Ubisoft best known for creating the Division games. They're also quite a large studio of around 800 developers last I checked. And while Division 2 didn't hook me personally, I played the heck out of the original game. It is one of my favorite open shared world games in the past decade, frankly. The world that they built, the killer atmosphere.
I didn't really play Division. You know, it looked okay. It looked like it could be good, but yeah, I wasn't really hooked. I wasn't really drawn in with the Division, but I could see how somebody might be, and yeah. So any game studio with this kind of a history with these big, like, exciting, you know, games like this, if they're making a Star Wars game, I'm on board.
Fear of an apocalypse in the middle of New York City during a blizzard, snowstorms, all of that just came together for a really unique experience. The mixture of PvE and PvP elements within the Dark Zone, it just ended up being and creating a very memorable gaming time for me personally. I am very, very fond recollection of the launch of the first Division. So to hear that they are the ones working on the first open world Star Wars game since, I guess, Star Wars The Old Republic, you might throw in the mix, I'm really interested. So today what I want to do is go over everything we know about the game. This is going to include the official reveal, interviews, various documentation that's come.
Give it to us. Give us all of it.
Out, as well as a few leaks here and there, some really interesting ones quite recently, and then a little bit of guesswork and speculation based on the developer, based on what we've heard about the game, and what I think that might end up meaning. Let's get into the details. I want to talk about what we know about the game, starting with the official reveal. The game's development was revealed in January 2021 when Ubisoft announced it was collaborating with Disney on a new story-driven open-world game set in the Star Wars galaxy. Of this, they said, headed by Massive Entertainment, the project gathers some of the most experienced talents in the video games industry and will make the most of Massive's innovative spirit and cutting-edge technologies.
Heck yeah. Let's go. It's Star Wars, man. The original, like the original sci-fi that gave you like a glitter in your eye with excitement because you were just so stoked about the next big installment thing. And it just keeps going. It keeps delivering. And man, a new Star Wars game. I really hope it's good. I really hope it's good.
Including the Snowdrop engine to deliver a groundbreaking Star Wars.
What do you guys think? Do you think this new Star Wars game is going to be any good? Open world, massive world. You think it has potential, especially with a studio like Ubisoft?
Wars adventure. Snowdrop, of course, being Ubisoft's proprietary engine used most notably in the creation of the Division games, but also on Mario Rabbids, the upcoming Settlers, and the currently in development Splinter Cell and Avatar games. I remember when we first got that big reveal for the first Division game and just how amazing graphically that ended up looking. Now, as we found out, the actual released game didn't quite live up to the target that they had, but nevertheless, it is an impressive engine. I think the first and second Division games do look pretty good, even if they don't look as good as that first initial trailer.
Not as much snow. That's the big thing that I noticed. Not as much snow falling, not as much detail on the road. Because, like, look at that. Look at those markings and everything. That looks so clean and cool looking. Like, real. It just looks real. And then this is like, the snow looks okay, and the road looks okay. But in comparison, it's like,
It's a pretty impressive engine. Now, shortly after that announcement, Ubisoft News posted a Q&A with members of the development team, much of which was the typical, we're excited to be working on the game, we're all huge fans of Star Wars, and we aim to make something that fans will love. This is what basically any development studio says when they're making a game in a well-established IP. I mean, I believe them. I'm just saying they could all be reading from the same script and just swapping out the IPs. But there were a few other quotes that I do want to pull from here. They were asked what they could share with us about the game so far. The response was, right now, we are in the beginning of our new journey, so we are still working out many of the details.
Okay.
So what we can tell you is that this will be a story-driven open-world game, and I do
like story-driven. I don't like having just an aimless, like, okay, we'll explore the world and look at the pretty sights and I'll dig something and build something. And, there's a couple games I'm referencing here. But, yeah, man, if you have a story to kind of pull it all together, like you're enjoying the world, you're enjoying all the side stuff, you're building and you're exploring and whatever, taking screenshots while also, accomplishing your objectives, that's better for me. And especially in a Star Wars game, it wouldn't feel good open world if it was just like, oh, I run around with a lightsaber and, I don't know, cut down trees with it. That would be so lame. So yeah, this is it's sounding... The little teeny tiny tidbits that were being teased with sound okay.
I do want to point out what's really notable here is there has been a complete lack of any mention of any sort of multiplayer, although my intuition tells me they will have some sort of multiplayer, some sort of shared world element.
They better have multiplayer. Man, if they want to bring people in, they better have multiplayer. I mean, yes, there's definitely people who like a solo experience, but these days it's so much more popular to have a game that has multiplayer and good multiplayer. Engaging, fun, active, like multiplayer.
elements or even multiplayer situations that you can queue up or go into. Definitely does not seem like multiplayer is going to be the focus, like say it has been. The multiplayer shared worlds were a major factor of Division 1 and Division 2. That so far at this stage in development from what they've shared seems like it might not be the case. They went on to say this will be a departure from the world of the Division. Both I and the team at Massive are very excited to start crafting this new experience. We truly look forward to create something totally different from what we've done in the past while upping the bar for the industry. That distinction might even further reinforce the idea that there may not be any shared world stuff. This could potentially be an entirely single player game. If nothing else, my hope is that
would be a huge missed opportunity. I'm just going to say it again. Huge missed opportunity if they don't put any multiplayer. I don't know. I mean, if you want to put your major emphasis on the single player, that's fine. But there should be at least some kind of multiplayer. I think. What do you guys think?
that they at the very least have some multiplayer modes, some sections of the game that are multiplayer, or if nothing else, they have some sort of co-op. I think that would be really cool. The next bit I want to mention here was in response to the following question: what kind of experience will it bring to the Star Wars galaxy? In which they said, first, we want to make a unique game in the saga with a captivating story and set of characters that players can relate and connect to. We want to take what is familiar and resonant about Star Wars and tell the stories of new characters who have their own motivations and stakes. Second,
I absolutely love that. I think I think the existing story, maybe not story, but the existing characters, especially like the original characters, I mean, they're so overdone, right? There's so many movies and stories and everything about them. So new characters, I think, would be really refreshing.
And one of the reasons we were entrusted with this game is to make the most of the technology to bring innovation to the gameplay and world building. So this raises some interesting questions about what particular era of Star Wars the game might be set in.
Yeah.
And there are people who are very much so fans of
Tell us the timeline. When is it happening?
particular chapters of the long and storied history of the Star Wars universe. Me personally, I can take them or leave them, wherever they decide to place it. I just think Star Wars and that universe as a setting is a cool and interesting one, wherever that ends up being. But yes, it doesn't seem like
I guess I feel similar, right? If it's Star Wars, it's Star Wars. I'll be excited.
will be playing as pre-established characters, or at the very least there will be a focus on new characters, new stories within the world of Star Wars. They then said that with the new Star Wars game, they are hoping to appeal to both lifelong and new fans of the franchise, saying that they are working closely with Lucasfilms to deliver quality and authenticity, and that their engine, Snowdrop, allows them to explore cutting-edge technology and stay at the forefront of innovation.
I really hope that they're not doing this at the expense of like good gameplay and good experiences, like because like you said, they're trying to appeal to old and new, enjoyers or whatever of Star Wars. I really hope they're not gonna we're gonna make the most like clear cut, enjoyable Star Wars experience without any innovation. It's gonna be decently fun to everyone who likes Star Wars and then new people, but it's not going to be like really, really fun. It's not going to be really memorable. Like, I don't know. I just hope they don't do something mediocre.
In other words, they say the game should look pretty. Yes, the Division 1 and 2 do look pretty, even if they don't meet that first bar set from that initial trailer. Basically, that is everything that Ubisoft has officially gone on record to say about this game. Not a lot of specifics and details have been made public. However, thanks to a recent article over on Insider Gaming, they state that according to sources familiar with the project, it will boast a fully open, seamless universe akin to that found in No Man's Sky.
Is this just like the new standard of gaming? Like, okay, we gotta make it like a No Man's Sky if we want it to be big. We gotta have multiple worlds that we can like fly into and explore real time, like basically no loading screens. That's insane if that's what they're going for. I really hope they can pull it off if that's what they're going for, because I would love it. But if it's done right.
In the game, players will be able to jump between systems, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy bursting at the seams with activities. At the heart of the game sits an in-depth, lengthy story driven by a fully customizable character that walks a path chosen by the gamer. There is a lot to unpack there. Open world, exploring a galaxy, traveling between planets seamlessly in a spaceship, flying around, going from one planet to the next, and character creator where you are constructing your own character and choosing your path, assuming light side versus dark side here. That is
exciting. Oh, get those giddy feelings. Okay, it's way too early to be actually excited about it, but if I let my mind run crazy for a second and just soak in what I'm hearing, it is exciting. That sounds cool.
Quite a premise, it's quite a bit of information to get. Now, keep in mind, this is just a rumor. Insider Gaming is known to share insider trade secrets from not unverified sources, but undisclosed sources, so we can't and likely won't know for certain if any of this is true until we get official word from Ubisoft themselves. However, I would like to add that Insider Gaming is a fairly well-known, and from what I've been seen following the site, fairly reputable. Like, they have been accurate. And a lot of what
I'm not super familiar with the site, but hey, you know, I like Force Gaming. I like his videos, and he seems like a pretty genuine guy. So if he's saying it's reliable, or at least as far as he knows reliable, hey, sounds good to me. So maybe we can get excited about that info. Who knows?
What they've reported on has turned out to be true. So we'll remain suspicious. We will take this with a grain of salt. We don't know for certain, but I am inclined to believe this reporting, especially when you consider Ubisoft has for some time now been working on a game with basically features and a description very similar to what's being discussed here. I am, of course, talking about Beyond Good and Evil 2. They've got gameplay of this game, videos from like 5 years ago that show exactly what's being talked about here. Open world gameplay on massive planets, you getting into ships, taking off, flying into outer space, and going to other planets. This is literally what Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been doing and what Ubisoft has showcased for several years. Now,
hey, that's even more promising, right? They're already doing it with another game. So it's not that big of a stretch, not that hard to believe that they could take that and apply it to a Star Wars game. Pretty exciting.
Should note that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is being developed by Ubisoft Montpellier, based out of France, and it's being made with the Voyager engine. So it is a different studio working with a different engine, but it is still Ubisoft, and it's reasonable to consider that if they could share some of this tech, they might do so. Now, what I'm not certain about is how much of this stuff is transferable between engines.
Yeah.
But if it were, this could be somewhat akin to what we'll be getting with the open world Star Wars game, should these leaks and these rumors turn out to be true. Now, this also seems a little extra probable if you consider the fact that it's been nearly 3.5 years since we've gotten any updates for Beyond Good and Evil 2. The game does appear to be in rather significant development hell. It is...
Oh no. Yeah, I remember hearing about Beyond Good and Evil 2, and it was really exciting when I saw the trailer for it. It just looked so clean, so original, so interesting to me. And yeah, I haven't heard about it for a long time, so who knows if that game's coming out.
Now, I think currently the longest development cycles of any big AAA game in history, beating out Duke Nukem Forever. And there's been reports from last November claiming that the game was completely rebooted just a few years ago and is still, as far as Ubisoft is concerned, in early development. So, should the tech be transferable between engines?
Ooh, that's rough. That sucks for that game and their team.
If they can take what's been done with Beyond Good and Evil 2 and the Voyager engine and bring that over to the Snowdrop engine for this open world Star Wars game, there's a lot of potential there, and Ubisoft has already had the foundation built for this open world galaxy.
I just gotta share. Anyone watching right now? My daughter's just being so cute right now. She's just laying there, watching her little show, just like kind of passing out, eating some goldfish. So cute.
Solar system spanning exploration. All of that said, Here's what I think a Massive's open world Star Wars game could potentially be like, all right? I'm envisioning having multiple solar systems, of course, within a galaxy, multiple planets in each of those solar systems, with those planets having some procedural landscape generation.
It's crazy what can be done in video games these days. It is crazy. Like procedural generation and just like weird like memory caching mapping tech. I don't fully understand it, but to be able to just go like, okay, yeah, the game or the system, it just draws up this new planet as you're approaching, and oh, there's all these cool details being created procedurally, and yeah, you see this whole new world, and you flew there real time or whatever. Like that's insane. It makes for a lot of possibilities for big worlds.
The various biomes, the hills, the forests, the mountains, the deserts, kind of placed and crafted procedurally with very constructed, handcrafted layers on top of that. We're talking highly detailed locations with cities, towns, and outposts, these ancient ruins, and then parts of the wilderness. There will certainly be unique points of interest within various distinct landmarks to discover and places to explore. I think especially because Ubisoft Massive, with their games, with the Division 1 and 2 in particular, they've done such a great job with their attention to detail, essentially recreating within these game worlds entire cities, the city of New York and DC. Very, very good attention to detail, a lot of fine granular stuff. I don't think they're going to completely abandon it. And also keep in mind, when I talk about like procedural landscape generation, I don't mean like planets are going to be different for everyone who plays it. I mean, in the process of developing it, they use procedural stuff to build out some of the things, the density and the organization of the trees and the hills and the mountains.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, that makes sense.
And all of that stuff. It's actually not that uncommon of a practice. And as far as I'm aware, Ubisoft has used stuff like that for some of the recent Assassin's Creed games that have had just such massive landscapes with the use of procedural generation to help craft some of the landscape. I'm really specifically talking about the landscape and not the bespoke cities and towns and
yeah, no, I've watched some videos about Assassin's Creed actually and how they do the design. I mean, they definitely do some kind of cookie cutter like buildings and like reusable platforms and like windows and stuff like that. But in general, like yes, they do that cookie cutter kind of stuff so that the models can be made faster. But the actual like level design is very, very carefully done, manually done. It's not procedural.
Dungeons and various things and points of interest. That will all almost certainly be handcrafted. From there, you're on a planet, you got this stuff, you got these points of interest. I assume you're going to be able to take off in some spaceship and then while in orbit and then going out into space, fly between the planets.
Imagine being able to customize your Star Cruiser or like X-Wing or Y-Wing or TIE Fighter maybe or whatever kind of cool spaceship from the lore. Imagine being able to customize it, change out parts, change the color. That would be so cool. So cool.
In the process of doing so, I expect there will be some space combat. We've seen great examples of this with some of EA's offerings, specifically in Battlefront, and then their Squadron spin-off. Space combat makes a lot of sense. I assume it'll be in this game as well. And then a la Beyond Good and Evil 2, or as referenced here in the leak, No Man's Sky, you'll choose a planet to land onto. What I don't know is if you can land anywhere on these planets, or if you pick a planet to land to, and then you go to like a designated port and then can go out on foot from there. There is, of course, a lot of, well, this is all just speculation. This is entire. I'm imagining this picture in my head, but based on the leak, based on what we know.
Well, so that pretty much clears it up, right? We're just watching old footage from different games, and we've pretty much heard everything that he has to offer on that. But that is really interesting. It's really interesting. It's definitely piqued my interest, for sure.